Craigslist.io.
Hello everyone, welcome to the latest episode of You Deserve Fresh Lettuce. I am your co-host Rachel.
And I'm Delia.
And today we're going to be talking about, is it a mistake that he's making or is it a habit? Don't forget to follow us on Instagram, social media at YDFL Podcast. If you're listening on your favorite podcast platform, just know you can check us out on YouTube, and you can ask Alexa to play your favorite episode of You Deserve Fresh Lettuce.
Start from the beginning and do a whole series.
Roll
What do they
it.
call it when they do the whole
The
series?
binge listening or binge
yes,
listening.
exactly. Please,
Binging,
yes.
binging.
Yeah.
All right, we're talking about, is it a mistake or is it a habit? Let's get into it. So, a guy cheats on you once.
Yeah. It was an accident. Sorry, Rachel, it was an accident.
Whoops.
I accidentally called her. I accidentally stuck my penis in her.
I accidentally
did that.
did her.
Accidentally. And then is it a habit? So is he accidentally doing it all the time?
I mean, here's the reality of it. Beyond cheating, there's a lot of things in a marriage. When you've been married to someone for quite a long time, as many of us have,
Right.
there are little things, little nuances. And you might speak up. You might think that you're doing the work. And you're like, I'm going to communicate. And you're going to bring it to his attention that, babe, I don't really like when you leave your jacket hanging on the back of the stool in the kitchen. It'd be really great if you put it away. And then the guy goes, oh, that bothers you? Yeah. Okay. And then the next day he gets home from work and he puts that jacket on the stool.
Oh, on the stool, okay.
And then he keeps doing it. And he goes, I forgot. I'm giving you like the bare simple example of this little thing.
Could be,
because something that small can trigger a person to go, really? This freaking dude is out here?
Yeah.
On the opposite end of the scope, you have cheating.
Right. Okay, so I'm trying to find the correlation of the habit of doing that versus someone actually cheating. So I guess what you're trying to say is that it's a habit.
No matter how big or small your idea of the request is,
right,
it has major impact. So whether it's as small as asking your partner to please
put it away,
put their jacket away, and they continue to put it in the place that you can't stand, you're going to be freaking triggered.
Right.
Same when if he goes and cheats on you, you guys do the work to get over it, blah, 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 blah. Maybe you go to counseling, and then all of a sudden the guy's like, hey, Michelle, guess what?
I made a mistake.
Got me again.
Yeah, I think what happens is the mistakes happen when they didn't intend to get caught. And so that's when it's triggered as a mistake. Like, damn, I mistakenly left my burner phone out and didn't put it away, and all the freaking contacts are there. And so I think that you got to call the bullshit for what it is, to say, no, this is not a mistake anymore. This is something that I've forgiven you and forgiving you and forgiving you, to the point where you have to understand that a person will change if they want to change. It's kind of like a drug addict. If the person hits rock bottom and it's when they want to change, you can get them counseling, they can go to rehab. I mean, you could give them everything in this world to make them a better person. If they don't want to see that change and they don't want to change, they're never going to change. And I've also heard from you that you basically have said that once a person has cheated on you, he will always cheat on you.
Yep.
So I'm not sure how true that is. I think maybe if the person finds God, has an awakening,
I mean, it has to be a major radical change in behavior, practices, mindset. It's not a simple just, I'm sorry. And here's the thing that a lot of guys don't understand. Ladies, you can probably relate to this. Let's just say he has an indiscretion and you forgive him for it.
Right.
It takes you time, because even 2 years later, you might bring it up. Guys hate when we bring stuff up. They want you to just
I call that
get
grave
over
digging.
it.
Grave digging. So you start grave digging.
He wants you to just get over it.
Right.
We already talked about it. We already cried. We already hugged it out.
We're
Babe,
done.
It's 2 years later. Why are you bringing it up? Well, you're bringing it up because part of the healing process.
Right.
Okay? But the chances are is that there's something in his behavior that wasn't drastically adjusted.
Right.
And so a little part of you is doubting that there's really going to be change. And so if you're a guy listening, you have to understand that I'm sorry doesn't mean anything unless a change in behavior takes place.
Right.
My theory is this. my ex-husband cheated on me, and listen, he's gonna go to his grave talking about these 2 times.
Yeah.
Okay. I
The
happen
2
to
times
have,
that you know.
yeah, I happen to have inside information, but on top of that, it's more. But on top of that, you can just assume it was more.
Right.
Because one of the other things he kind of revealed was, to be completely honest, every time you had a bad feeling or a gut feeling, you were actually right.
Right.
So when
and you're like, holy moly, 20 years of like every other week.
I'm like,
it was
how many freaking diaries do I have with this trip? So what I'm trying to get at is, with the habit part, there's a chance that there's a mistake that he made that's actually a habit. You just happen to catch him on this end of it.
Right.
And I hate to plug that kind of insecurity into the mix, but that's what we're doing this show for, to really unpack it and to figure out
what is it?
What does it mean? Like,
and then I think a lot of the time too, we as wives, as girlfriends, as whatever you want to call us, I think a lot of the time we also excuse the bad behavior, right? Oh, well, he normally doesn't act like that. It's because he was drinking. Or he normally doesn't do that. It's just because, that one friend, he loves to do blow or coke or whatever it is.
Yep.
And then you're like, I know he doesn't do it, but what if he pressured him to do it? And then all of a sudden you want to use that as an excuse for his bad behavior to say, no, it's not really him. It's the fact that he's around these people. It's like maybe the mom doesn't like you. It's the mom. It's the sister-in-law. It's the brother. It's the sister. You name it. And you sit there and you kind of blame everybody. But in reality, that's who he is. And that is maybe part of his habit. That is what he does. Or it's a ritual, or, it's what he's going to continue to call a mistake. Like, because I was drinking, she came on to me, she sat on my lap, my pants went down. Like, come on now.
I mean, yeah, one thing led to another.
It
blah,
wasn't
blah, blah.
intentional.
One of the things,
there's no feelings there.
There's no feelings there. It doesn't count. One of the things that I did learn over time, being in an environment where I worked around a lot of men.
Okay.
And the men would make their little moves and they would do their little things, that I got to hear the stories and be on the other side of some of these situations, where I got to see that they don't even count a lot of these indiscretions. It is the craziest thing. Like, if they're not in a romantic relationship with someone, they don't even count it. When I'm talking about, maybe, hey, we're going to go after work, a bunch of us, because we hit goal, we're going to go have drinks, and then you go out to the parking lot, you see the truck freaking rocking, and you're like, isn't Johnny here married to, like, Susie Lou, and this and that, and everyone's like, yeah. And at the end of the day, obviously he was comfortable enough to say yeah to whoever that girl was.
Yeah.
And what I'm trying to get at is that there is no bad influence. We're not like raising children here with our spouses. Mm-hmm. If you're a parent, you might be like, oh, I don't want my son hanging out with him because that kid's a bad influence. No.
Right.
If you raise your kid right, your kid can be around anybody and he'll know the right and wrong thing to do.
Right.
If he chooses wrong, that's on him. That's a reflection of his character,
kid,
not on the other kid that said, hey, here's the drugs or whatever. Same thing with our spouses. And so whether it's a habit or not, I don't know that as women will ever truly know. Your situation's a little bit different because you found a phone that had tons of people in it. But I think that it could. It
is a little different. But here's the thing: like, he had justification for it, and his justification was that was an accident. And he like looked at me dead in the eye and was like, "That was an accident." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. The only accident here is that you got sloppy and you left your phone out. Like, let's be honest." And so, I mean, I think most people would have bought that, and maybe like the old me could have been like, "Oh, poor guy, he's just creating accidents here." Like, oh my God, he didn't mean to.
Oh my God.
Yeah, but in reality, come on, let's be real.
But yeah, in his mind.
But in his mind, he did
really,
legit.
We were like, he literally didn't think that really counted.
Right.
Also, didn't think it was a huge deal.
Right.
And I could attest to this.
He
genuinely felt like she was making a bigger deal out of it than what it was. And let me just tell you a little backstory. It was like, I'm not taking this man's calls. She was like, just take it. And I'm like, I don't know. I was afraid of what was going to come out. I'm like, it's not my business. She knows me now. I'm like, I don't know. That's freaking messy as shit.
She was doing the sign of the cross.
So freaking
like,
scared.
I don't want nothing to do with
But
this.
when I tell you, I learned so much. Like, I learned so much in those. There was like 3 conversations, and I was like, whoa, because the delusion. So ladies, we're dealing with situations if a man is going to be cheating or whatever,
Yeah.
that it could be a habit. If he got away with it once and you didn't even know, maybe he felt really bad, like, I can't believe I slept with my coworker, like,
Right.
he could have went to church without you knowing,
Right.
begged for God to forgive him, but also gotten up and gone, oh, my life just kept moving, no one knows what's going on, no one knows anything, and then now I think this girl's cute
And
in
then
the
it's
gas
just
station,
become a habit.
and then all of a sudden, we don't
It's
know how
a
the
habit.
habits are formed, but I can tell you firsthand from meeting this man in her life, and even my ex, they don't even believe it counts.
Right, that's the
Sometimes.
irony of it.
It is
It's like the
insane.
crazy thing. And I think I remember you saying that he's like, I had to break up with my girlfriend. And,
Yeah. Yes, I was
and
like-
then Rachel's like, wait, what? What do you mean your girlfriend? And so his justification for it was that
He even broke up with his
he
girlfriend.
broke up with his girlfriend for his wife.
For his wife. And, like, why doesn't she understand? Like, why doesn't she...
Get
and
it?
I'm like, what...
Like-
I'm like, do I pray for him or do I pray for me? Do I pray,
Pray
like,
for her.
what? Is like pray for everybody in
Who
this
do
town?
I pray for?
Oh,
Yeah.
rough.
I mean, when Rachel told me that, I was kind of mind boggled. I mean, I can laugh about it now, thank God. But I guess my
Yes,
point
right.
is that you really think about it. That was a ritual. That was a habit. That was just that was not a mistake. I mean, that was literally what he found to be very normal. It's like getting up, brushing your teeth and just going about your day. That's how he kind of operated. That was his day-to-day operation. So I think you have to get really good at understanding if that's a mistake. I mean, really, like, unpack that. Is it really a mistake, or is this just a habit you happen to catch him in? And is it going to be a continuous thing? Because the thing is that the minute you forgive the one thing, you're going to have to continue to forgive a couple other things. And let me tell you, when a woman decides to file for divorce, it's not from the first act.
It's not.
It's not from usually even the second act. It's usually like, this guy is a multiple offender?
Habitual
line stepper.
Yes.
So you have to get really good at understanding, what is this? Is this truly a mistake? Was he truly drunk? Is this how he acts every single time? Or, maybe was he roofied? Like, you have to really, really get that breakdown, because it could continue.
It could. And I know that with my ex, when everything came out, he freaked out, like, to the point where he got, like, very sick. He was very ill. He, like, ran to the toilet. It was like a whole thing.
Diarrhea. He lost weight.
He lost some poundage that day, let's just say. And one of the things, the first thing that spewed out of his mouth when he got caught was, I am not losing you over this ugly, and he said, bitch. And I was like, in his mind, she didn't count. In his mind, she didn't count. In his mind, in 2 seconds, he knew she didn't even level up. And I'm not here to put women down, but in his mind, that was the first, like, knee-jerk reaction that he had was, what the heck? I'm not losing her over this one. And then I was like, over this ugly bitch. Well, then what are the other ones? Like, not over this one? Like, so at the end of the day, I was like, it didn't count to him. And by the way, later, and we have a whole show now, but later on, he's been able, not recently, but a few years after, was able to really go, I just want you to know this, I want you to know that. Because in his mind, he thinks he's, like, helping me for the next relationship. But the reality is...
podcast.
Or maybe
and then he's like, I made her, too.
Oh, so you can be like, I made her. But, at the end of the day, his thing was, like, as men, he says, we truly don't count it unless it's like we got into an affair. So him cheating and having sex with randoms, and we've talked about treating it like a handshake and transactional. In their mind, if it's just random whatever, genuinely they may not even see it as an issue.
And then here's another thing that I've come to learn and realize, okay? And I didn't know it at the time, but I remember way back when, right, before I had actually married my ex-husband, so we were dating, and he had basically just told me that, there was a moment there where he was being with a married woman. And what I've noticed, there's like this track record thing that I've noticed. So if a man is willing, or even a woman is willing to be with a married person knowingly, that already kind of shows you what kind of person they are,
or how they value
and how they value marriage. Possibly, I have known a few people that can actually turn that around. But for the most part, if you're a woman that's with a married man, or a married man that's with a woman, if you're basically having an affair with someone that's married, that's kind of indicative of what you're willing to do.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to get into a relationship with someone, and that's one of the first questions that you ask, like, have you ever had an affair, or have you ever been with someone that's been married, or what have you, it kind of is a little bit indicative of what could come for you, what is probably at the forefront for you.
Where the moral compass is, because I mean, I love that you say that, because it is true. If they're willing, let's just say as a woman, if I go, okay, he's married, but I'm willing to take him from his wife, I'm willing to sleep with him while he's married, that I cannot possibly value the sanctity of marriage.
Right.
If I'm willing to do that to someone else's marriage.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I love that you're saying that. If you're dating a guy and you ask that question, he's like, oh yeah, I was with her, she was married. He cannot possibly value the sanctity of marriage. There's no higher power that he's answering to that scares the heebie-jeebies out of him to walk straight. Right. You know, most men would probably go, oh hell no. Like
I won't be with a married woman.
A freaking married woman. Or a woman, you know, a decent woman might be like, no, he's married. Like, yeah, he's hot, or we have chemistry, but I can't go there because he's married.
Yeah.
And so that is a really, really good point. So yours
I think it could be, you know, indicative of, okay, if you're kind of dating someone and it's before you get to the whole, is he a pathological liar or not? I think that if you can kind of ask that question and get the answer, and then ask why, and then if you know he's totally cool with it, like, oh, it was just something we were doing, it was fun, you know, we were at the office, you know, one thing led to another, and you're continuously like sleeping with this married woman, then I guess it kind of shows that maybe in the future you shouldn't trust someone like that. Right. And so being so young and naive, I thought, well, it was something that it just kind of passed him by, and it was like, oh, it was something that he had gone through. But now when I think about it, obviously those were like the biggest red flags that I could have ever received. But granted, I was only like in my early
2020.
Right, and I was in my early 20s. So really, you know, really think about the questions that you ask and understand that after a while, it's just a decision that is made. It's not a mistake. And you shouldn't, you know, have him feed that to you, and you shouldn't eat that.
No, because
like, there's no.
When you're working with enough men and you're in the environment, you start to learn really quick that nothing just happens.
Right.
That story, oh my God, it just happened, I had no idea. Nothing just happened. There is a buildup.
Right.
There is a conversation. And I'm going to actually put you on to a major red flag.
Ooh.
If you're a guy and the woman does this to you, it's a red flag. If you're a woman and a guy does this to you, it is a red flag. And what the red flag is, that you might be heading down a path where you might end up having an affair on your partner. Okay? And here's what it is. If the person that you happen to get along with in the office. Okay? Let's just say you're a guy.
Is it your office husband or office wife? Because they have that too.
No, I mean, they shouldn't. But let's just say everybody in the office gets along. We're in a building here. We get along with the people that are in the office. But you'll know the difference in this way. If all of a sudden you're hee ha ha blah 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 da da da, and all of a sudden they come to you and they're emotional, and they come to you and say, "Can I just talk to you really quick because I'm going through something and it's so difficult." Guys do it too. I don't know how to handle the situation. The married ones will do this. And what is the situation? Well, you know, I really trust. So the first thing is, I really trust you. And so I'm coming to you with this because I trust you. Now that is putting down the walls, and that's establishing the next level of this connection. So you go from surface friend, coworker stuff to like, now I'm going to trust you with something very intimate and emotional. And what is that thing? My husband wants me to have, you know, sex every day, but, you know, or usually it's, I want to have sex every day, but he doesn't want to. It's this signal that's sexual in nature. It's happened so many times to guys that I know, they tell me stories, but also this happened with my ex when he cheated on me when we first got married. And they start with that. And then the next thing is, oh yeah, now the other person has to come up with their little traumatic thing that they have to then share with that person.
Oh my gosh.
Now it's, hey, if you have a chance, maybe we can go to lunch because, you know, blah, blah, blah. Then it's the follow-up. So how's that going? Are you doing okay? Like, blah, blah, blah. And then guess what? That could lead to text messages or whatever. Because now they're there for each other. Okay? And then that eventually becomes the moment where the shoulder to cry on, the ear to listen to, and now they're having sex. It never just happens. Once in a while, they might go out for happy hour, get too drunk, and do something in the parking lot.
Right.
But for the most part, there is a buildup and a
something
lead
happens.
up.
No, you know
with
what?
that.
I've had a couple things happen to me in the past. Now that I'm obviously divorced, and you'll get the guys that are like, I just don't know what to do with her, and can
Yep.
you help me? I need someone to just understand. Like, I don't know how much longer I can deal with her, and I don't know what. And I'm right away quick to be like, you know what you need? And they're like, no. And I'm like, you need God. You need to go to church.
You need
You need
Jesus.
prayer. I was like, you need
Jesus.
Jesus in your life.
Jesus,
'Cause-
I pray over this man.
Because you're a married man and you're not going to get anything out of me. And I think, honestly, it's so funny because when I do say that, I'm like really serious. I'm like, you know what I think you need? They're like, you need Jesus in your life. You need
Yeah,
God.
they're
And
like,
then they're like,
"Damn
and then they're like, no.
Damn
Then guess what happens? That goes limp.
And you know what's really sad about that approach, by the way, is that oftentimes it's the nicest guys. I mean, for me in the very early years of my life, I never
Yeah.
even saw it coming. Like, I genuinely did not recognize that as like a treacherous move.
Right.
The serpent in the garden, as they say.
Yeah.
I literally,
You're like,
I'm like, he genuinely.
Oh, yeah.
I genuinely, because one of my really good friends when I was really young, her husband did that, and
Oh.
and he really, now that you were talking about it, he really positioned the conversation like he really cared about her, like
Right.
Rachel, help me help her.
Right.
It was like help me, Rachel, to be a better man for her.
For
So
her.
guess what I naturally wanted to do?
Yeah.
I wanted to give him advice to be like, okay, maybe you should do this, or maybe you should try that, or maybe you should put candles, or maybe you should
Right.
put soft music. And you know what that was? No, it
He
was
was
an
trying to-
opportunity to put my guard down, my
Yeah.
walls down,
Yep.
to get in there.
But it takes some time to get to this point to where you see it and you're like, dude, you need counseling, or, you know, if it's not going to work, just divorce her. Don't come at me. I'm not a counselor. Like, so I think that it takes time, meaning like when you're young like that, you don't know
You
better.
don't always catch on.
And you don't
yeah.
catch it. And I think when you get older, you're wiser, you're like, dude, we're not going there. Like,
Yeah.
don't even try. Like, no,
Yeah.
we're not. But at the end of the day, like, I guess the message is really, really ask the questions and really see whether or not it is something that was truly a mistake, which, believe me, these things usually are not a mistake. and then it does turn into habit. So it's up to you whether or not you want to continue to allow this to happen. And if you decide that, hey, this is going to be something that I just can't deal with, then you got to make your move.
You do. So, I don't know.
I think that's it.
Anything else? I think that's all we have for you. Keep your eye out, but don't be jealous, please. If he comes
Yeah.
home happy, just be happy.
Just be happy. Enjoy the moment.
Yeah, don't be like, why are you so
Enjoy.
happy? If he buys you flowers, just say thank you. Don't be like, really? Now you're buying me flowers?
Yeah.
Why? Right? Don't be that way.
Don't be toxica.
Yeah, don't be.
toxica.
Don't cause the very thing that you're trying to prevent
Exactly.
from happening.
So just enjoy the ride. Enjoy the moment.
But always remember that you deserve
fresh
fresh
lettuce.
lettuce.
And salud.